Do you have a PM? A PM house?
No, it's by email password.
Your email.
We got email.
Nandaka. Jimmy Dog. Say an energy. It's out. It goes on.
Those have joined for this particular webinar this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, the whole world is passing through a very difficult times at this point of time. In India also, the cases are increasing. And at this point of time, all the youth, all the children, all the students, and all the teachers are trying to do justice with education, whatsoever they can. Because when we discussed with the UNESCO, 1.86 billion people world over, at this point of time, when we talk about, they all are having difficulty and they are at their respective residences. They are not in a position to go to schools, colleges, institutions. They are at their residences. So we all are trying our level best how we can empower the education ecosystem. So from world over, when I say green morning, green afternoon, and green evening, first of all, the green means all greenery all around. The greenery bringing a lot of peace and a lot of wellness, good health to everybody. Eating good food, organic food, nutrition, and consuming only that which is minimum for the body so that we all can live peacefully and we can help other brothers and sisters also world over wherever they are. Ladies and gentlemen, Monday to Sunday, when I talk about, it's a statement Monday to Sunday, because Monday to Friday, every evening, 7 to 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, we are getting the world teachers, world vice chancellors, world educators, motivators, counselors, psychologists, everybody to empower the education. That is 7 to 8 p.m. That is Monday to Friday. Every Saturday morning, we bring a special program for you. The relevance of Buddha's teaching in today's education, what is to be done, how Buddha's preaching, Buddha's teaching, Buddha's philosophy, and Buddha's sermon, whatever he conveyed to humanity, how that is relevant to our education ecosystem today is the main purpose and main objective of this particular webinar, which we bring to you every Saturday morning. I'm so grateful to all my brothers and sisters, those who have joined this program from world over, and those are strengthening and empowering this particular program. Last week, we had a lady from Sri Lanka, we had a lady from Canada, and we had a gentleman, our Bhantesa monk from Thailand. So they all were very kind and they shared their thought process, what exactly is to be done at this point of time and how we can help the humanity. Today, we are moving ahead yet another program under the dynamic and dedicated leadership of Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya ji, the Secretary General, International Buddhist Confederation. He's trying his level best to bring the entire education system, empowering education system, what best can be done world over. And all our brothers and sisters, those are following Buddhism, 500 plus million people world over, how they should be a part of this particular process. So ladies and gentlemen, this morning, while extending a very warm welcome to Honorable Bhikkhu Thich Nghia, Academy Buddhist Lin Son from France, we extend him a very hearty welcome this morning. Dr. Kalinga Seneviratne, he is at present in Australia, in Sydney. And the honorable gentleman who has joined this morning to us, he's a media analyst, he's a journalist, and he's a lecturer there. We have also been joined by Dr. Ashin, Nandaka, Vice Chancellor, Dhammapiya, Chekinda University, Yangon, Myanmar. And at the same time, we have got thousands of people, those have joined this particular webinar from world over. Let me show you a few slides before we start today's deliberation so that we all are on the common frequency and we understand. Our chamber, International Chamber for Service Industry, since 1994, we are trying to have a confluence of non-resident Indians world over, getting the people together so that the government, the corporate, and the non-resident Indian, they can have an interface. And as I mentioned to you earlier, Monday to Friday, every evening, every day, we have got a program, we have got a webinar that also comes on the Facebook Live, that is making education relevant. Every Saturday morning, we bring a special program for you, Saturday morning, that is on what are the Buddha's teachings, Buddha's philosophy relevant to our today's education. And every Saturday evening, we bring Ayurveda for the global wellness. That is again from 7 to 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, where we talk about yoga, meditation, naturopathy, nutrition, organic, positive thought, fullness, happiness, music therapy, mindfulness, and holistic living. All those kind of things we discuss every Saturday evening. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our chamber, International Chamber for Service Industry, with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and Services Export Promotion Council, and with a couple of other organizations, we are also thankful to International Buddhist Confederation. There was a Buddha Purnima celebrations. It was Saturday, 21st of May, 2016. And from there, the process started and the whole thing was there. And that is the time we started Buddhist Heritage and Pilgrimage Journey. And we started. I'm also grateful to Ashok Wangri-ji. He had been very, very helpful all the time to give a lot of inputs. Maling Gamuji, he had also been there to talk quite a bit about it. And of course, Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya ji, the Secretary General of International Buddhist Confederation. It was that time connecting India and the ASEAN and the East Asia, further all the countries together and the Buddhist followers. Then in New Delhi on 10th of January 2018, we had a very big program, Global Confluence of Buddhist Followers, and where we had Professor Satinder Dhiman, our president from United States earlier for our chamber, who holds his PhD in Buddhism. And just about 2 weeks back, he discussed with us how Buddha's philosophy and Buddha's teaching can be brought in today's education ecosystem. So we had a function in Delhi and we had lots of people from world over. I'm so grateful to all of them, those joined for that particular program. Just on 21st of June, on International Yoga Day, early in the morning, we had Professor Dhiman live telecast from Woodbury University, Burbank, California, USA. At the same time, we also had the closing remarks by Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya ji, Secretary General IBC, where once again harnessing well-being of educators through Buddhist psychology. That was the whole focus, and that was well attended from the world over. We had wonderful participation and deliberations. Thereafter, ladies and gentlemen, last Saturday, I'm so grateful to Sharmila Milroy, educationist from Sri Lanka, Venerable Fra Pasura Dantamano, the chief in Thailand, and Madam Bhikkhu Thong Niem from British Columbia, that is Canada. They all were very kind to join this forum, this program, and to share their thought process. What is the relevance of Buddha's teaching in today's education? That was last Saturday, 4th of July. I'm so grateful to all of them. And I'm grateful to all those who attended the webinar, because you are our strength. If we have to take any vision ahead, it's your support, it's your strength, it's your encouragement that would take the whole process ahead. There is a vision, there is a dream project, and there are efforts by Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya ji that there should be a Dhammapiya International Buddhist University coming up in India, where from world over the people should come and they should take their education. So from our chamber, we would be more than happy that his dream should come in reality, because it's a good human cause. It's a good thought. It's a good pledge which he has taken. And our chamber, I have requested all our international members world over, whosoever can support this vision and this cause, they all should come forward. Ladies and gentlemen, in a very humble way, my brothers and sisters, I share with you that our chamber, International Chamber for Service Industry, at present we are training 30 boys and girls free of cost, complimentary basis from our chamber, and they are getting the entire grooming. It's India's first Buddhist pilgrimage facilitation executive program. It is totally digital program, and these facilitators, wherever they would be in a position to facilitate the pilgrimage journey of all those people who come to Buddhist places, Buddhist circuits in India, and they want to go to different locations, different places. This morning, I was also talking to Mr. Rajiv Mathur, the top travels based in Delhi, and it was such a pleasure to talk to him and to know what all is being done by his organization. They recently hosted one program in Bodh Gaya, where from the world over, that was just before the lockdown, he told me, and they have got the complete facility and they would be there in future. My colleague from the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, Mr. G. Kanjilal, who's the patron at present of organization, worldly organization, as far as Buddhism is concerned. He also gave a lot of valuable inputs to me this morning. Shamal Sinha ji, the chief reporter of the Buddhist Times, that is the e-news from Delhi. I have requested him also to give his support. So ladies and gentlemen, these 30 boys and girls, those are getting groomed at this point of time. They would be the brand ambassador to facilitate, so that the people, those are coming for Buddhism to India, they should have a hassle-free travel. They should not have any difficulty. They should not have any problem. At this point of time, when the world is passing through such a difficult times and such a difficult moments, there is a request which has come that there should be a chartered flight of some of the Buddhist pilgrims, followers who have lost their elders during this COVID-19. They would like to come to Bodh Gaya and pay their respects over there. We are working in that particular direction. We would request some of the prominent travel agents and tour operators. At the same time, we are also getting in touch with some chartered flight, the providers, how to go by, because the entire thing has to be worked out in a very systematic way, because we have to maintain the physical distancing also. But at the same time, emotionally, we got to get them fulfilled with their pilgrimage when they come to India. So our chamber is deeply committed on to that. All these 30 boys and girls, they are going to get international certificate, Buddhist pilgrimage facilitation executive certificates. There are some children, those have shown interest now from Leh Ladakh also. We would be more than happy to help them, because the member parliament of Leh at present is very dynamic. Whenever I hear him, his views, he wants to do a lot to facilitate people. So together, all of us, irrespective what forum you belong to, what chamber you belong to, what organization you belong to, but all of us, we are together in this process. Ultimately, the vision is how to facilitate people, those are coming from world over. Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged that this morning we have Bhikkhu Thich and Nghia, Academia, Leon Son, Vitre-sur-Seine, France. Before being associated with the Buddhism, he was a senior apparel designer for men. He became a Buddhist monk in 2010. Apart from his studies about Buddhism, both in Paris and in India, he enjoys participating in designing and creating. He's a badminton player too. His strengths are his analytical approach, his humanity touch or his human touch to these situations, his appreciable communication and presentation skills. He believed upon being realistic, is a deeper admirer of Buddhism philosophy. We extend a very hearty welcome to him this morning. We have also been joined by Dr. Kalinga Seneviratne, Australia. His forefathers, they migrated to Australia. He's in Sydney. For the last about 40 years plus, they are in Sydney. And I was talking to him. It was a pleasure and a treat to talk to him. Very warm person, very, very pleasant person, and with a very rich knowledge which he has got. And today he is going to share his thought process with us. Dr. Kalinga is a journalist, media analyst, and a communication lecturer. He has been a prolific feature writer for new agencies and publications, especially in Asia, for the last 30 years. He has also taught tertiary level in Australia, Thailand, India, Central Asia, and Singapore. When we talk about tertiary, that is a services sector we talk about. Currently, Dr. Kalinga is developing a project with a number of Asian communication scholars in mindful communication for sustainable development, introducing Asian philosophical concepts to journalism and communication training. We extend a very hearty and a very warm welcome to Dr. Kalinga this morning for having joined us. We also extend a very warm welcome to Professor Dr. Ashin Nandaka from Myanmar. He's from Yangon. He's the head of Vinaya Department, Dhammapiya Buddhist College, Sanchong Township, Myanmar, abode and spiritual master of Nandaka Monastery. His area of specialization are Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist literature, and Myanmar Buddhism. He has 27 years of experience in research and teaching. He has written articles and books on Buddhism. Apart from PhD, he has also attained the highest qualification in monastic literature, Myanmar. That is Sasanana Dhaja Macharya. My apologies if I can't pronounce it properly, but as I will learn with time, I will also pick up good threads, and I wish Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. And we all start this morning, wonderful morning. And with these words, ladies and gentlemen, let's have my beautiful dignitaries, those have joined us this morning. And we would start with the Bhikkhu Hanh Negaji. He will first start. He will share his views. I would request you to kindly unmute your mic. 8 to 10 minutes, you can share whatever is your thought process. Our total focus is how to empower today's education system, how more and more people, those are following Buddhism, they all should come together on a common platform, and Buddha's philosophy, Buddha's teaching should be taken to our younger generation, because our youth is future, our youth is tomorrow, and how our youth are going to follow that, that is something very important. With these words, I extend a very hearty welcome to Bhikkhu Thich Hanh Negaji. You have to unmute your mic, sir. You have to unmute your mic, sir. Bhikkhuji, unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. You can do it from, yes.
Okay. Namo Buddha Sakyamuni, the most respected venerable, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity for me to share with you on the subject of relevance of Buddhist teachings in today's education. We must observe and see that the educational program in general nowadays is fully tilted toward worldly advancement, which is always directed toward the material goal. We need to find a way to coordinate Buddhism education so that can be led to the peace of mind. The idea, life of devout Buddhists must be expression of the spiritual culture that was devised by the Buddha when he was still alive. A noble mind is always fruitful of the sanity of body and mind. The body plays the supporting role. The mind plays the leading role. Education in Buddhism does not require physical sacrifice or asceticism because Buddha went through an extreme investment in this area. The social characteristic pivotal in Buddhism education is to become life without profit on others and not to exploit fellow human beings. The education in Buddhism will bring practical contribution to our daily life, such as family life, society, country, international, and ultimately global. A person who had been fully educated by Buddhism and who had the right view is never unconscious before the mutual truth. The truth of condition always exists dependent in life. Somebody point out that the main purpose of education in Buddhism is to improve the spirit of people. Without this priority, education will no longer effectively contribute to human peace. The right view consistently helps each individual cultivate a sense of solidarity in life. Most people believe that a person who lives fully in this life because in his previous life he had planted a good seed and now he's only reaping the results. And a person with a bad past karma now living a life of inferior, but thanks to the right view, he realized that this is the result of his act. And now he has to accept it happily and moderately to improve, to live healthily and diligently, and not to envy others who are more fortunate than him. Then his mind will be peaceful in the present and have a good life later on. Also, thanks to the right view, we only need to get rid of the ego decisively and how to retain a kind ego and responsible ego. Especially this ego had been imbued with the teaching of karmic awareness in Buddhism. The ego, of course, often perceives that the peace of a person today always depends on the peace of others. Or the suffering of one person cannot fail to affect others. The law of interaction is inherently eternal because no living thing is formed by just one creature. It is instead the collective result of two or more living units all live and need each other. In school, it is time that we should teach simple and prove to all young people that the shirt that they are wearing not merely having money to buy, it exists because of a large number of people in society directly or indirectly created the industry. Recall the process for the children, starting from the producer of the basic material such as growing the cotton fabric, to the harvester pull it out into yarn, and then the weaver, dye worker with creativity present beautiful pattern, and then it can be tailor-made. The worker put each shirt into a bag, delivered to the store staff. So the new shirt had the opportunity to appear in a supermarket store for their parent to buy for them to wear. And now the story of a shirt is just one of the thousand of the story about existence of one or more products, contributing to the coexistence of humankind. But most people dress them mistakenly, believe that it is their private life belonging. And because of such narrow-mindedness of private life, everyone thinks that we live, we have a job, we have a salary, we have property, we are independent, and we don't need anyone, and we don't need to be grateful to anyone. Consumer, do not forget that we have the salary, we have a property, is also given directly or indirectly by society. Do not argue in an isolated way. Salary is the compensation of our labor or wealth. It's a result of our tear and sweat, and that is unrelated to anyone. Currently, the educational system around the world had long finished the task in the form of producing professional, officer, and leader for future profit. This education that stimulates the selfish competition and training and blinding to the third, for the third of success, pushing graduate after graduation will be ready to crush the opponent at all costs. Not to mention a number of well-known education institutes which are currently demand very high tuition fees and only recruiting the best student training to provide personnel for the roles. The game is about power, reputation, profit, advantage. As a result, society, of course, will be a society of yearning forward for reward, fighting for fame, destroy each other to recall its progress. And that belonging to the state of the race, material enjoyment. The education according to Buddhism, which emphasize mind and body training, especially spiritual elevation or in-depth training, to improve a person into the right view. And most of us all know that the right view is the first or indispensable element of the Noble Eightfold Path, given by the Buddha at the end of the Four Noble Truths. At his first discourse, after he became a Buddha, as an imitator of the Buddha, we must objectively but confirm that the right view is not necessary, unique to Buddhism, but to anyone, regardless of religion. Live daily with rationality, with a beautiful thought, with mindfulness, with independent belief, and with the habit of acting according to science, can have the right view. Moreover, in reality, the education of Buddhism is not opposed to any school tradition. It is only simple, which is the science that makes people know how to live healthily with awareness and purity. That education was interpreted by a fully enlightened person not by any spirit representative. Therefore, education in Buddhism needs to be clearly represented to the mass. Out the code of ethics in Buddhas must be explained as much as possible to elevate the crisis and threat to our life. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bhikkhuji. It was such a pleasure to have you with so much of clarity. And the central theme which I understand is, let us coordinate Buddhist education for peace. That is the most important thing which you made a mention, and you started from there. I think that's something is commendable. Yes, there is a global peace requirement. We all should live peacefully, in harmony, as a family, as a global family, as a brotherhood. That part is very important. May I now extend a very warm invitation to Dr. Kalinga, Seneviratne, media analyst and journalist from Australia. A very warm welcome to you. Last week, we had a lady from Sri Lanka. She spoke so well and she gave so many dimensions. And today, as your humble student, I want to learn and I want to pick up as much as possible from all of you. With these words, Dr. Kalinga. And also, I made a mention, I must make a mention that right from the airport, Delhi airport, our Bhante, Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya ji has joined now, and he's a part and he is listening. And in between, as and when, before his flight, when he's in the queue and all that, we will get him for 5 minutes and he will share his thought process also with us. Dr. Kalinga from Sydney, from Australia, either before lunch or after lunch.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to join the panel. And I would be expanding on what we could just talk about. Now, as he said at the beginning, that our education system, wherever you live, is geared towards earning money. Often ethics and compassion are lacking. And you find the behavior and the communication of young people today, it's reflected very much. So as a media person, I would like to talk about how Buddhist philosophy or Buddhist teachings can be brought into teachings on media studies and mass communication into curriculums, even to, I will later mention about economics as well. Now, if you look at the media today, it is driving conflict. It's not helping to promote cooperation and solutions for today's problems. I don't know if you watched yesterday, the head of WHO was almost in tears. He said lack of cooperation all around the world has contributed to what is happening with COVID. And I think the media has to take a lot of blame for it everywhere in the world. So let me start with Kalama Sutra, which is called the Charter of Free Inquiry. Now, we often talk these days about critical thinking, how students have to be trained in critical thinking. And Kalama Sutra, which as I said, is Buddha's Charter of Free Inquiry, is a good guide for teaching that. Kalama Sutra is famous for its encouragement of free inquiry. The spirit of Sutra discourages fanaticism, bigotry, dogmatism, and intolerance. It is a guide on close examination and analysis of things using your own 5 senses. This right wisdom or vision does not mean a blind belief in rebirth or karma, which is retribution, but development of mental well-being acquired through the overcoming of the 3 poisons: greed, hatred, and delusion. And these are very important to include in curriculums, whatever you teach, including social sciences and the connections between greed, hatred, and delusion. You see it everywhere around the world today, which is the real root cause of conflict. everywhere. Now, let me come to mindfulness. Today, it has become a fad, especially in the West, but I feel it is also being misused. It is used as a mechanical process to focus your mind better, but they have kept out the development of compassion and loving kindness, which are a major component of Vipassana Bhavana, which is the mindfulness practice. Because in order to secularize it, they want to take religion out. And when you take religion out, what are you training people for? To be more selfish and ruthless. You had the US Marines being sent for mindfulness training, but for kill better. And you have CEOs sent for mindfulness training. What for? Is it exploit their workers? Of course, if they get the training in compassion and loving kindness, that's good. We will have peace with the Marines, and we will have better economic systems with the CEOs. But that is kept out of it. And that's where Buddhism comes in. We have to, as Buddhists, we have to insist on mindfulness training, keeping the compassion and development of mindfulness, that training in the curriculum. So I was involved with a number of Asian scholars. I was at Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok for 1.5 years in 2016 and 17, and we got a UNESCO grant to develop curriculum on, it's called mindfulness, mindful communication for sustainable development. And now we are in the process of trying to introduce these curriculums across Asia. So what we are looking at is develop a new model of mindful communication, a new model of development communication, really, what we would like to call Asian concept of development communications, because we have been teaching Western concepts of development communications for the last 40 years. Because we want to bring the development of compassionate mindset leading to loving kindness into communications, and also sufficiency economics into the development agenda. I will come to that later. But first, let me look at SGDs. I don't know if you have the
Sustainable Development Goals. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now I sent a slide. I don't know if you have it there.
Oh,
that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, now that's 17 Sustainable Development Goals the UN has adopted. And if you look at those goals, it is really based on praticca samuppada, or dependent origination. Though, of course, I don't think the UN was thinking on those terms, but you can easily see the links where praticca samuppada is that all things and phenomenon are interdependent. So to achieve one goal, you have to solve another. So SDGs are embedded in this relationship of cause and effect. For example, you cannot achieve equality in education without empowering women first. Or you cannot achieve good health and well-being without providing clean drinking water and sanitation. So you can use Buddhism to train modern communicators to assist in achieving the SDGs. Praticca samuppada principles can come into that communication policy, communication for sustainable development. Now, in the first place, we need to understand, when you look at SDGs, we need to understand what is poverty, because poverty is at the very root of a lot of these problems. And we can go into the 4 noble truths, which are dukkha, samudaya, nirodha, and magga. Now, dukkha is suffering or dissatisfaction. So poverty is suffering, and we have to be mindful of this suffering. So then we need to go to understanding the origins and causes of this suffering. Now that is the second one. Samudaya is the cause or origin of suffering we need to understand. So once you establish there is poverty and this is a problem, then we have to look at the causes and its origins. Now, is it the wrong government policies? Is it the exploitation of the poor by the more powerful? Is it unjust economic and trade regimes? Even trade agreements have to be critically examined. Is it corruption, which is the ultimate manifestation of greed and craving? You come to the 3 poisons there. So in looking at the cessation of this suffering, we need to look at how we need to create communication among various stakeholders so that they understand the causes and we begin to devise ways of communicating a solution to the problem. Now that is Nirodha, cessation and existence of suffering. That is devising a communication strategy in this direction. So the journalism we teach and practice today, because it's too adversarial, and no, before that, let me go to the fourth part, which is the Magga. Magga is the part to eradicating this suffering, and that is your communication system you develop, the development communication system based on this process. That's the fourth noble truth. And you need to devise ways which not only communicates, but communication is such that it makes changes at grassroots levels. So the journalism we teach today, which we have borrowed from the West, it is too adversarial because we focus too much on dissent, the watchdog principle. Watchdog, that media is supposed to be the watchdog of government's abuse of power. But that is not enough. We have to understand why this power is abused and how we can communicate to eradicate this. So the role of development communicator should be to understand all the causes, be mindful of the situation on the ground, set about to encourage or advocate policies that will lead to the eradication of poverty and suffering. So I would argue this is a Buddhist communication part. Then if you look at the Noble Eightfold part, which is part of the Magga, the fourth noble truth, it advocates 8 steps to eradicate suffering. And these are the Panya or wisdom dimensions of Buddhist teachings. It includes right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, and right mindfulness. Understanding the causes of poverty could lead to right thought and right speech, and finally into right action. The Thai Buddhist social critic, Surak Sivaraksa, often talks about what he calls the structural violence of the economic system, be it at local level or be it globally. And it is important to use principles of metta to understand this and expose it. Metta is compassion, and challenge it, ultimately making the system non-violent. This is where right livelihood comes in. A Buddhist education system should include discussions on the right forms of livelihood. For example, should you run casinos? Should you make money out of selling firearms? Should you run a business exploiting migrant labor? Should you make a living killing and selling animal flesh? So let me come into Panchasila now. Panchasila principles are also very important to incorporate into not only development communication, but into social sciences and moral education courses, especially at high school level. Because these principles, you don't need to be a Buddhist to practice those principles. It is there in most of the other religions as well. Do not harm or kill living beings. Of course, Buddhist includes what is called sentient beings. That is any living being which can think, have emotions, and feel pain. Now, interestingly, in many Western countries, for example, New Zealand is one country which has even passed laws in this direction. They're not Buddhist countries. And a lot of schools in countries, especially in the Western countries, teach animal welfare, not being cruel to animals. And it has led to animal welfare legislation in these countries. Now, a country like Sri Lanka, which is a Buddhist country, for years, Buddhists have been battling to get an animal welfare bill passed. And it's still not been passed in Parliament. So because our education system don't make young people aware of it, so that there could be animal welfare groups, lobbies, claim that. Then second Panchasila is not grab what is not yours or given to you, not to steal. Do not tell lies to hurt others, the third one. Then the fourth is do not misuse your senses for sexual gratification. It's not only adultery, but it involves many other ways of sexual relations where you don't misuse your senses. Then refrain from taking drugs and alcohol, which affects your mind, judgment, and your behavior. Of course, I don't need to talk about it. We see all over the world the problems of drug abuse and alcohol abuse. It's become a huge problem. And so these Panchasila principles, we need to include in high schools, at high school levels, even primary could be, but especially at high school levels, in social sciences, in courses like moral education or ethical education. And it need not be only in Buddhist schools. It can be anywhere. Then, as I said earlier on sustainable development, now I'll just come one more point on sufficiency economics, because when you talk about sustainable development, there's the sufficiency economics is sometimes called Buddhist economics. And in Thailand, for many years now, many Thai economists have been trying to convince the Thai governments to adopt a sufficiency economics policy. And even the United Nations Development Program has endorsed it as a good development policy. In the 1970s, British economist E.F. Schumacher wrote a bestseller on it titled Small is Beautiful. But unfortunately, Asian governments did not take it seriously in devising post-independent economic policies. We need to bring these theories into teaching economics and development studies. Just quickly, I go through what is sufficiency economics. It's a philosophy of, it involves three interlocking elements. One is moderation, other is reasonableness, and the third is self-immunity. Moderation involves people living the middle part, not too much greed, nor too much austerity. And I think this is a very important principle when we look at the post-COVID development or getting over what we are at the moment. Because what this has led to is by too much greed. But of course, you can't go into too much austerity either. We don't want to go back into poverty. Then the second one is reasonableness. It's lifestyle that is sustainable. You can live a comfortable lifestyle, but don't be too greedy and unreasonable in the use or grabbing of resources. The third is self-immunity. It is the ability of the people to protect themselves from any external turbulence or to cope with events that are unpredictable and uncontrollable. And today is a good example. We are talking about the supply chains, unsustainability of these supply chains. And we are talking about using local resources, especially for things like tourism. In fact, in Thailand, when they introduced it, they wanted to develop tourist resorts in the countryside, which draws from the local farming, not import wines and beers and cheeses and all this to feed tourists coming there. So these are some of the issues I want to put up and which we need to look at bringing Buddhist concepts into education curriculum. And this is also what I'm also working at the moment. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Dr. Kalinga. Such a wonderful mindfulness training. Marines, you talked about, what an example, such a rich country. And mindful communication for sustainable development and Asian concept of development communication. We would like to further know from you in future. And we would like to know more and more on Asian concept of development communication, which you mentioned for the UNESCO. Women empowerment, clean drinking water, animal welfare, no cruelty to animals, education ecosystem, and the most important which you gave to me this morning was Buddhist economics. That is the concept which you have given over here. Small is beautiful. Small is beautiful. And all your 3 points, moderation, reasonableness, and self-immunity, and local farming in Thailand, which you discussed about. Wonderful points. Each and every point is consuming, and there's so much of deliberation and discussion has to be done in the inner cerebrum, how to basically take care of our youth, what exactly is happening, and the greed is increasing, and how to reduce that greed, how to really just focus only on the basic needs. There are a couple of things which has to be done. You've got a great role to play, and we would request you from our chamber to help us out the best from Australia. And of course, you spent some time under that UNESCO project, which you told in Thailand as well. So we will take some valuable input of yours, and we would like to establish a long-term relations with you in this research part in education.
Yeah, actually, just quickly,
Sure.
most of my work in the last 15 years is out of Australia. I have been in Singapore, Thailand, India. In fact, I have a proposal at the moment to Nalanda University to work with them on this project. so
you have touched
do something out of India.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. We will work out. We'll work out. You have touched the most emotional chord of mine when you mentioned about Nalanda. This COVID-19 has given me a time. I admit in public, in society, globally, that I had never read about Nalanda before. There was no time available. Now I have read so much about Nalanda University. How was it possible 10,000 youth from world over, 2,000 Acharya and Darban, they used to conduct the first interview of a person, and how the global community were they all coming. And look what an unfortunate part that the library, the research work and the books, they were burning for months and months and months together. And we could not control that fire. And so much of it was there. It was a great damage to entire humanity, which was done. But well, past is past. History is not only to be read, history is to be rewritten also. And history has to be made applicable to today's civilization, today's agenda. And I would be more than happy. We will further, because you want to work in India. Nalanda, which you have mentioned, maybe that soon we will bring you in another program with us. And Bhikkhuji is already doing his research project, PhD part. So now let me move to ASEAN. Let me come to our Honorable Dr. Ashin Nandaka ji from Yangon and Myanmar. We extend you a very warm welcome. And Bante ji, kindly unmute your mic. Unmute your mic before we start. Yes. And we are ready to listen to you. I want to learn whatever best can come and whatever you can give to all of us this morning. Hearty welcome to you.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning. I'm most grateful and honored to have been invited to speak in the presence of such distinguished dignitaries. Thank you so much indeed. The topic I have prepared to speak briefly on is the relevance of the Buddha's teaching in the today's education. We are now in the era of knowledge and information. In other words, education is quite arguably one of the topmost essentials of our life today, and the Buddha's teachings have said so since over 2,500 years ago. No matter how extensive the Buddha's teaching may be considered, it can all be summed up in the three words, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Of these three, Panya, meaning knowledge or wisdom, is effectively education and is one of the topmost essentials in the development of the nations and the mankind. So it's also in the essence of the teachings of the Buddha. In order to acquire true wisdom, in order to acquire true knowledge, the two basic prerequisites are sila, which is the morality or discipline, and samadhi, which is the concentration of the mind, sila samadhi. Sila is the most basic. The requisite is expounded in the Vinaya Pitaka. Completeness with sila at the outset of any undertaking signifies a good start. As the professor mentioned, Pancha Sila, something like that. This is the very base foundation. Then, equipped with strong samadhi, concentration of the mind, integrity, assures a smooth functioning of any undertaking. This is samadhi, second stage. This is a majji kalyana. The good in the middle. And the attainment of panya, wisdom, is the successful conclusion of any undertaking. This is a panya. Pariyosana kalyana. The best at the end. Armed with sila, samadhi, and panya, we shall surely be able to solve the problems in the complexity of the world. And the exposition of the attribute of these three are found in the magnificent Visuddhi Mega Text, the path of purification, this book, by the renowned Shin Buddha Kosa. The critical importance of Sila, Samadhi, and Panya is detailed in the Visuddhi Mega Text. This is a very nice book for all Buddhists, everybody. Therefore, to obtain the fully enriched benefits of these, we need to practice whole thing. How to get this Sila, Samadhi, Panya? First, Saddha, faith, or confidence, Panya, wisdom, in Viriya, effort, in Samadhi, integrity. Saddha, Panya, Viriya, Samadhi. In the matter of education today, we must be constantly mindful awareness or strive to possess first, faith and confidence, Saddha. Second, innate qualifications, Panya. Third, diligence, Viriya, and fourth, and pioneer, integrity, Samadhi. With these four attributes, with these four qualifications in fully possession, we will definitely become the best in the most learned. Just as the strength of a harp should be balanced by not being too taut or too less, so must the four qualities be carefully proportionate and practiced mindfully. These four. In conclusion, I want to say many things, but we have to see the time. I wish to mention the unique qualities of the Myanmar most venerable and learned Mahathera in Myanmar. The late well-known monk, the late Mingo Sayadaw, who had never during his lifetime been or studied abroad. This Sayadaw had however learned and could recite by heart without a single drop or mistake the entire 6,800 plus pages of the Tipitaka Pali, in the phenomenal quality of the most venerable Mingo Sayadaw is cited in the renowned Guinness Book of Records. So this means he is never familiar with this modern education. Still, he had his best education in monastery study in Myanmar only. So that indicates the teachings of the Buddha is relevant to today's education. It is applicable all the time, and everywhere, anytime, anybody, any religion, any ethnic. It is the most useful Buddha's teaching. We are very lucky, we are very fortunate enough to have been studying Buddha's teachings. So I hope everyone, whoever may be happiness, absolute happiness, and absolute peace, they should keep in touch with the Buddha's text in their whole life. So I thank everybody who invited me to participate here. Thank you so much for your invitation. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ashin Nandaka ji from Myanmar. And your views, teaching of Buddha are applicable all the times, in all the circumstances, at all the places, everywhere, is a beautiful thought process which you have given. And absolute happiness and peace, that is something which you summed up. We are so grateful to you. Thank you very much for joining us this morning from Myanmar.
Thank you so much.
I would request now from International Airport. Initially, if he can show his face, wonderful. If the signal is weak, then the only voice should come. Whatever is convenient to Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya, because he is with us in this particular group. I extend him a very hearty welcome. I could see him, and if he can show the video, fine. Otherwise, the audio is also acceptable, because the views have to travel world over. And I'm so grateful to the people those have joined from the world over. With these words, Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya ji. Dhammapiya ji, can you hear? Dhammapiya ji.
Morning. I do not know whether you'll be able to hear me.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah,
we can hear you.
I just came back. There is a fluctuation network as on ground floor in the area of this day. So I'm traveling now. I'm requesting to Gulshan, my elder brother, for including this the topic, sense of Buddha's teaching.
We are having audio difficulty. But we wish you a safe journey, happy journey, and you should travel back safely from airport to the place wherever you are traveling. No worries. Your voice has reached, your feelings have reached, your good warmth has reached, and you are a part of us. And you will always encourage how the entire global fraternity. Yes, now it would be better. Try again.
So what I want to say is, we have been discussing this.
We are having difficulty.
Okay.
It is our loss. We are having difficulty. Your voice is breaking in between, but we wish you, if you can hear us, a very safe journey. Travel safely, go back safely wherever you are traveling, reach back safely, and once you reach back, then get in touch with us. Your warmth has reached us, your feelings have reached us, Your voice partially has reached us, but your heart has reached us and it has touched us. You are already a part of ours. Without you, we are incomplete. And in your mission, the entire global fraternity is there to support the cause, to support the mission, and to have that global university coming up in India. That's what we would like to request and appeal everybody. Now, before we close this particular program, I would request right from Bhikkhuji, 1 minute each closing remark of yours, and thereafter we will go to our Dr. Kalinga, and then we will go to Dr. Ashin Nandaka. I would request each one of you 1 minute each, if you would like to say something to the younger generation world over, that how the younger generation, because they have been so kind, people have joined us from the world over this morning. When I'm reading over here, I'm so grateful to them. So anything you would like to convey, you have to unmute your mic, Bhikkhuji. You have to unmute your mic. Yes.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Basically, I used to live in the West and education in London. Basically, this is what my thought that was lacking. I think this we need to explain to the children and students at the school that they are living in the world of duality. So they need to change their common mind, and that we all live and we need each other. Compassion is very important, and the law of interaction from school, teacher, and to the student. And we all need to be responsible for our action and understand the true meaning of right view in an enlightened way, because we are responsible for the future, whether good or bad. Education eventually will affect our world. That is and we need to plant a good ethic seed to the children when they are young. That is my point that I like to.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I would request Dr. Kalinga, what would you like to tell the younger generation? What would you like to convey to them so that world over, the younger generation, because they are future, they are the one, those are tomorrow. And somebody has sent me something very good quote. I will share with you little later. Please go ahead.
In the last, say, since about 1997 until last year, I have been teaching in Southeast Asia, mainly in Singapore and also in Thailand, and sometimes also I give lectures in Sri Lanka and India. Especially my students in Singapore and Thailand. And I used to get a lot of students from mainland China in my classes, and Indonesia, Vietnam, Myanmar, those countries as well. And what I find a bit disturbing sometimes is their lack of knowledge of history, their own history, their own culture. And that seems to be lacking in our education system. I can remember I had a class in Bangkok. We had, out of the 26 students, 19 were from mainland China. And I wanted to discuss with them how to counter this propaganda against the new Silk routes by the Western media. But they don't know anything about the old Silk routes. They didn't know about the East India Company, how colonialism worked. I had to tell them, without knowing that background, we can't discuss this. And I find this very often with Asian students all over in Southeast Asia. In Singapore, I find it. Thailand, in Thailand, I asked the students, 38 in the class, 35 said Buddhist. When I mentioned Panchasila, because I wanted to use Panchasila to talk to them about journalism, but I just spoke earlier on. They didn't know what Panchasila is. But they go to temple every time and take the Panchasila in Pali. But one of them told me, oh, that's to get merit. So I think there is a problem with our education system. We can't blame the young people for lack of this cultural knowledge. We have to include it in our courses, high school, and even at university level, we should have that core subject on culture and history for students.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would like to point out.
Culture and history. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Dr. Ashin Nandaka ji, anything you would like to convey to the younger generation?
Yes.
Generation. Yeah.
We all are social beings. We depend on each other. Our future depends on our younger generations. Their life also depends on us. So nowadays, what we should do for younger generation is we have to let them know the importance of compassion, karuna, and the importance of wisdom, panya. Everything which is very good is included in compassion and wisdom. So we have to transfer our compassion and our wisdom to our younger generations. We have to let them know how this compassion and the understanding wisdom panya are very important in our day-to-day life, even in our future life also. So that's why whatever may be, whenever may be, wherever may be, whenever we meet this younger generation, we let them know the importance of the compassion and wisdom of panya. So I want to convey my message to the younger generations to know about these two things. That's all. This is my message to younger generation. Thank you for your
Thank you.
message.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhante ji. Thank you very much. I'm deeply grateful to all my three distinguished esteemed guests this morning, those who have joined us from world over.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to share a lot of thoughts with all of you.
Yeah.
And more people, what I would request is that whenever we want to start any campaign, whenever we want to get good results, more and more knowledge sharing, more and more sharing of the wisdom, thought process, skills, competencies, and education being a motherboard of the entire humanity. Whether somebody becomes doctor, somebody becomes engineer, somebody becomes lawyer, somebody becomes politician, somebody becomes bureaucrat, wherever they go. But education is the base foundation. So like we requested last week also to our distinguished guests, kindly bring more and more people every Saturday morning, 9:30 to 10:30 a.m., exclusively dedicated the relevance of Buddha's philosophy, Buddha's teaching in our modern education, in our today's education, how to empower our teacher, how to empower our youth, how they should. So much as goodness has come from all three of you. My deep regards and deep salutations to all three of you. And with this prayer, with this request, that kindly bring more and more people in this fold, in this group, in this fraternity, in this ecosystem. If there are 500 million Buddhism followers world over, at least 5 million should be a part of this group to talk about how to make education meaningful, how to make education relevant, how Buddha's philosophy, Buddha's teaching should be relevant in our day-to-day life. So much I have learned from all three of you this morning. You all are three my teachers. I learned so much from all three of you. My only humble request to you is, please bring more people. Please share more thought process. I have already shared my personal mobile number with all of you. I'm looking forward to next time, next week, next Saturday, when we come, all your followers, all your friends, and all your monks, all your bhantes, those are associated with Buddhism, they all should come over here. They all should be the part of this process, because nobody can ever bring a change alone. You always require like-minded people and humanity together. So on behalf of my International Chamber for Service Industry, on behalf of my entire team, my technical team, my supporting team, my creative team, my research team, and all my advisors world over, all my presidents world over, 149 countries, people, those are watching and those are part of this particular program. They are watching us on Facebook Live, Dr. Gulshan Sharma's page. Now, we have got hashtag making education relevant. Hashtag making education relevant. Please share more and more. Please bring more and more people. We want to learn and we want to bring Buddha's teachings and Buddha's philosophy in our mainstream of education globally, world over, wherever it is possible. My ex-colleague from the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, Mr. G. Kanjilal, who is a wonderful visionary. He recently hosted international conference at Bodh Gaya with lots of pilgrims, lot of Buddhism followers at Bodh Gaya, and that was with Mr. Ranjit Mathur and a couple of other people. Mr. Shamal Sinha, who is also for the Buddhist Times e-newspaper, he also has committed that he would be sharing a lot. So all of us together, slowly and gradually, we got to build the community, we got to build the team, we got to go globally, and all of us, we have to be together. Wishing you a great day ahead, wishing you a wonderful green day ahead, green evening, green afternoon, green tomorrow, green environment, women empowerment from Dr. Kalinga, clean and green and neat, whatsoever is there you talk about, healthy and holistic living from all of us. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for joining. On behalf of Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya ji also, I convey my deep regards and thanks to all of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.